Good evening, SportsZonians. I am Mike Aglialoro, joined by Dave Hastings. We're going to do a little SportsZone short here. Dave, how you doing tonight?
Doing good, Mike. Doing good. How about you?
Not too bad, not too bad. So the first thing we're going to talk about, and this actually broke only a couple hours from when we are recording this, the New England Patriots, in what I consider to be a pretty shocking move. This is one I didn't see coming because we've heard for the last few days, you got these rumors swirling about Rob Gronkowski, whether or not the Patriots are going to trade him. So they turn around and they don't trade him, but they trade Brandin Cooks to the Los Angeles Rams, who had a very active offseason. They get the Rams' first-round pick, the 23rd pick overall. They get a 6th-round pick, and the Patriots send the 4th-round pick along with Cooks. Now, I got some thoughts on this trade because I'm very torn on how I feel about this trade for both teams now. Dave, why don't you start off, though? How do you feel about this?
Well, I mean, look, first and foremost, literally first and foremost, you have to think about this, all right? In the last year, so since last offseason up until this day, the Patriots got Brandin Cooks and pick number 118 in exchange for pick number 32 and pick number 103 of last year's draft.
Mm-hmm.
Then they managed to turn Brandin Cooks into pick number 23 this year. They were also able to deal Jimmy Garoppolo for pick number 43 from the Niners. That's this year.
Mm-hmm.
So in this year's draft, the Patriots, who are the Super Bowl runners-up, had pick number 23, pick number 31, pick 43, and pick 63. So they have 4 of the top 63 picks, and they literally lost the Super Bowl this year.
That's insane.
Yeah, and I can't take credit for knowing that. I got that off of a guy called David Hellman. He's a staff writer actually for the Dallas Cowboys. So I didn't want to steal credit for somebody else's stuff. So I just thought that was cool as hell. Really, when it comes down to it, there's a couple different thoughts I have, and I look forward to your reactions. One, now they have 2 first-round draft picks, and the asking price for Odell Beckham Jr. is 2 first-round draft picks. And I think that's really interesting. I don't think they do it. I don't think he is a Patriot way, Belichick kind of guy, personally. Nor do I think they want to trade for a guy who's going into his rookie contract, or a final year of his rookie contract. Just knowing New England the way you know them. So I don't think it actually happened, but definitely interesting. On top of that, only Belichick could pull this off. It's unbelievable how they're able to do what they do. And no matter what they end up doing, whether they trade these picks, whether they actually draft players, maybe they move around. I mean, you never know with Belichick. And no matter what they do, you're just going to be like, it's just unbelievable how smart they manage, handle this league. So that's kind of my thoughts when it comes down to the Patriots side of things. When I look at the Rams, though, I mean, in all honesty, they just remind me of the 2011 Eagles that were just, paper champions and yippee and all that. And I think they went like 7-9 that year and missed the playoffs. So who cares? But at the same time, if they're able to utilize Cooks, I think they have to be able to utilize him better than they use Tavon Austin. Yeah. I think Cooks is a better wide receiver, but we also don't know what kind of opportunities they were really trying to give Tavon Austin. So you got to kind of see how they handle that. Now Cooks also replaces, Sammy Watkins. So, it kind of keeps them with having at least maybe a 1B type of wide receiver. I don't really consider them either one of them in like the same class as Julio or AJ Green or Odell I just don't put them up there with those guys. So I think, it's an interesting trade, but to me, I'm a firm believer in, until I see you play, I'm not going to get hyped about you making, trades and doing things like that. So we shall see, but the Rams team is looking like some fake team we put together in a video game.
Yeah. And it's funny you say that Eagles team, and I'm hazy on the year myself. I think you're right for 2011 there, because that was what I was thinking of too. Because you've seen teams before put together these super team-looking rosters, at least on this, but like you said. Now you add Cooks. You already have Cooper Kupp at wide receiver. You have Todd Gurley in the backfield. Hopefully Jared Goff continues his improvement. I think the danger this puts on the Rams team this year is that the Rams were the feel-good story of last season, going from an embarrassment in 2016 to one of the best teams in the league last season. Now, with Ndamukong Suh and Marcus Peters and Aqib Talib on board now, you've gone from that feel-good story to a team that is not only in win-now mode, this team has to win. Because if you look at what they've put together right now, you have no first and second round draft pick as a result of this. Because they traded their second round draft pick away in the Sammy Watkins trade. And now you trade your first round pick away to replace Watkins with Brandin Cooks. I don't think there's going to be an argument. Brandin Cooks is obviously a better receiver than both Tavon Austin and Sammy Watkins. I think we can agree on that one. So you have that. But you have a lot of guys now who are commanding top dollars. And then you have guys like Aaron Donald, who sooner or later you're going to have to renegotiate his contract. You're going to have to renegotiate Todd Gurley's contract at some point. So you have all these guys coming up who are going to need the contracts redone. You don't really have a lot of cap space to do it. You don't really have a lot of depth if any of these guys go down, and you will lose two potential building blocks who could have really helped you in that, in the first and second round draft pick, getting Brandin Cooks, and before that it was Sammy Watkins. So that's a danger right there. Yeah, it looks good on paper, but I'm telling you right now, if this doesn't work out, Los Angeles is going to have a major problem moving forward if this season doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. As for the Patriots, you know something? At first, I kind of thought this was a bad deal for them. Because I get the idea of having the 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. That's great and all. And yes, Belichick does it again. When does Belichick's luck run out in these trades, though, is my question. Because Cooks, in my opinion, is a top 15 wide receiver in the league. I know the Patriots have their bread and butter is bringing in these unheralded wide receivers and turning them into stars. They did it with Deion Branch. They did it with Wes Welker. They've done it with Julian Edelman. You know they can do it. When does that luck run out, though? And Cooks added a lot to the Patriots' attack this season. And also, what happens if now you traded Cooks? What happens if you wind up trading Rob Gronkowski later on? Because yes, next season Julian Edelman should be healthy, Chris Hogan should be healthy. You have Malcolm Mitchell. In my opinion, this is going to put a lot of pressure on Philip Dorsett to really pop next season. Because in my opinion, he's the guy who's got to wind up stepping up here. He's the guy who basically wound up replacing Cooks in the Super Bowl after Cooks went down with, I think it was a concussion, and he had to leave the game. Dorsett was really one of the guys who wound up stepping up in his place. He's never shown any sort of consistency in his first couple seasons in the league. Now, he has to have a major league next season. Otherwise, I don't know if this could really work in terms of productivity standpoint on the field next season. In terms of what this could mean for the future, hey, you get 4 picks in the first 2 rounds, and you have the roster that you currently have. You have the ability to really look towards your future here. And let's say all the quarterbacks that we think are going to go in the top 15 wind up going. Well, if Belichick does his due diligence, a guy like Lamar Jackson has been thought of as maybe a late first, early second round pick. Maybe Belichick decides to take a flyer on him and see if maybe they could turn him into Brady's heir apparent, something like that. So you have a lot of possibilities. The Beckham thing you mentioned, like you, I don't think that one's going to happen. Beckham, you said it perfectly, not a Patriot guy. The only guy they've ever really taken a chance on that was not a Belichick Patriot way of doing things type of guy was Randy Moss. That worked out for a little while. That relationship went south very quickly. And Beckham has a lot more off-the-field stuff going on than Moss really ever had, in my opinion. So I don't see that one happening. What I wonder, and I don't know if this could happen, but let's say Belichick really wants to get Brady's successor in this draft. He now has the power with these 4 picks to move up if he wants to get that third quarterback on the board. Say Darnold and either Rosen or Allen come off the board in the first 4 picks, and now all of a sudden either the Browns want to move down or they can get someone else in that top 6 who wants to move down a little bit. If they want to make it, well, this trade will never happen. But if they want to go to the Colts and say, we'll give you these 2, you give us that pick, Colts would never do it. They have the ammunition to do it if they want to, though. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely just think it's going to be, one of those trades that when you look back on it, I think Belichick's going to just do something great with it again. And I think you were right with the Rams having the pressure, but the good thing is really what they're doing is they're kind of putting all their eggs in this basket, trying to capitalize while they have Goff on his rookie deal and one more year of Donald on his deal. And, it's really what they're doing. A lot of these guys within a year, by the end of next season, the latest the following season, won't be on this team.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think outside of Goff, Donald, and Gurley, nobody on that team at this point is guaranteed to be on that roster within a year or 2.
Mm-hmm. It's just dangerous because, like you're saying with that, it's a very small window. And it's either really going to hit or it's really going to miss. So, there you go on that one. One other football note I wanted to bring up real quick here. I noticed this yesterday. Bryce Butler, former Dallas Cowboy, signs a 2-year contract with the Arizona Cardinals. I got to be honest, I was always a fan of this guy. I always thought if he had more of an opportunity, he could have really clicked. I'm not going to say he had Dez Bryant level talent because I think we all know that's not true. But I definitely thought he was a better wide receiver than Terrence Williams. And he's in a prime position now to really take a giant step forward next season. In the Arizona landscape, you lose John Brown, you lose Jaron Brown through free agency. He's got an opportunity to really step up and make a mark next to Larry Fitzgerald next season. What do you say about that?
Well, I mean, outside of the fact that they don't have a quarterback, I agree. The statement you made that I agree with the most that you actually said, though, is I like him better than Terrence Williams.
Absolutely.
I think he gave you more athleticism, more of a deep threat. More of an athletic threat. I mean, Terrence Williams is kind of, I like the guy, I respect the guy. He's been true, he's always worked hard for Dallas, he always played hard, but, he took the hometown discount. Like, I like Terrence, but I think Bryce Butler, if I had the option between which one of those 2 I was going to sign, I would have rather given Butler the contract and let Terrence Williams walk, but that kind of just is what it is, and I'm not going to do about that. So, I mean, good for him. I hope he has success. I hope he's able to make, do something good with the money and, help himself and his family out and, do what he can. I like Bryce Butler. I got no issues toward the guy. I mean, he was a little dumb when he did his media tour, but I still like the guy.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a fair point about the fact that the Cardinals don't have a quarterback right now, so I give you that one. All right, let's switch to basketball real quick. I do want to mention this. So we were talking last week on the air about the Philadelphia 76ers making the playoffs. We were both very high on them, feeling they could go very deep in the Eastern Conference portion of the playoffs. And then Joel Embiid gets into a collision with Markelle Fultz in his first or second game back. And now he has a concussion and a broken orbital bone in his face. I gotta tell you, if Joel Embiid winds up missing significant time in the playoffs, 76ers are royally screwed. Can anything go right for the Philadelphia 76ers at this point?
Hey, man, this year's still a win. I mean, it sucks that happened, but this year's still a win. And, you shouldn't be sitting high. Like we said, yes, do they have the potential to make a run and, maybe win a series or two? Yeah, I do think that is the case. But more importantly, they weren't winning a title and, they're a young team. So it just sucks that he gets hurt, and it sucks that, it's something that you've seen him deal with before, and you got to worry about him dealing with it again. I mean, it just sucks. It's the problem with big guys in the NBA.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I will say this, though. The 76ers just won their 11th straight game. They won 121-95 against the Brooklyn Nets. They won the last 3 games with them beat out. Now, they come against the Hawks, Hornets, and Nets. But these ain't exactly juggernauts. Matter of fact, if you look at this 11-game win streak, started off against the Knicks, then the Nets, then the Hornets. So 6 of these 11 wins have come against the Knicks, Nets, and Hornets. Throw the Grizzlies in there, the Magic in there, Timberwolves, and the Nuggets. That's only 2 teams over 500 in this whole 11-game winning streak.
All I gotta say is Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
That he is doing things that not even LeBron did.
Yeah.
So just to give people some perspective on that, he's literally doing things that not even LeBron was able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, to me, that's just, he had 15 points, 12 boards, and 6 assists tonight. The kid is just, he's going to be something special, man, because these kids don't really hit their peak until they're 25 to 27. So, I think he's 19 going on 20.
Yeah.
That's just scary to think. I mean, that's awesome as a basketball fan, but scary to think about if you're in that league going against him.
Yeah. If he ever can develop any sort of outside shot, he's going to be dangerous. Yeah. All right, moving to basketball. Anything stuck out to you in the NBA over the last week maybe you want to mention?
Honestly, right now I'm watching the Warriors OKC game, and that's pretty intense right now.
Yeah. All right, man. What's throw a score up? It looks like 92-91, 6:40 to go in the fourth.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
That is
exactly right. It's pretty intense right now.
And it's in Oklahoma, and I believe Kevin Durant is back. So I can. Sorry,
Durant and Klay Thompson.
Yeah.
No stuff.
Yeah, and apparently I saw on ESPN. Apparently Durant did some interview where he said the game that Klay Thompson went off for 60 a couple years ago. Apparently, Klay Thompson overslept and missed practice that day. And then he comes in and hits for 60 points that night.
Yeah. Dude, you know how it is, man. These guys, you've really never seen it before, but when these guys get hot, it's something. I mean, come on. The guy dropped 27 in a quarter in one game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just out of this world.
Yeah. Practice. He's talking about practice. All right. So with that, I do want to make mention, over the weekend, the NBA announced the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. And this is a star-studded class. You have Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, 2 of arguably the greatest point guards of all time, being joined by one of the greatest three-point shooters of all time in Ray Allen and Grant Hill, to go along with longtime college basketball coach Lefty Drizzle, women's basketball stars Katie Smith and Tina Thompson, and four-time NBA All-Star Maurice Cheeks. Dave, what do you think of this year's Hall of Fame class?
Well, I mean, the focus obviously goes on the guys that we literally watched their whole career. I mean, Ray Allen, before Steph Curry, was the greatest shooter we ever saw from three. Mm-hmm. You think about I'm sorry. You think about what he was able to do for Miami, when they were able to hit that Game 6 shot, to get to Game 7 and end up winning the title for Game 7. I mean, I don't think there's a single person that's not a Heat fan that thinks that Miami should have lost that game. I mean, come on, let's be serious. But either way, they won it, and it got them a title. Ray Allen, I don't know what the hell happened with him. And, the guys from Boston, with KG and Paul Pierce and Rondo, I don't really get it, or the whole beef thing with them, so that's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But, as a Bulls fan, I remember those games that Chicago and Boston had against each other in the, mid-earliest 2000s. Mm-hmm. He was an unbelievable dude, clutches all hell. So, obviously love that. Steve Nash, I mean, what can you say about Steve Nash? The guy was a monster from Canada, small little dude, soccer attitude, all these different things, and he's out there balling in the NBA, and not only just doing that, but he's owning it. I do think he did steal an MVP from Kobe, but, we won't dive into all that.
Well, Shaq still thinks he stole a couple MVPs from him. Because I don't know if you ever, it's one of the funniest things I ever saw. Do you ever watch, I think it's NBA Network, NBA TV puts these on, NBA Open Court, where they have all the former basketball players who work for Turner basically doing roundtable discussions on different basketball topics. They did one, it was like best all-decade teams, and they were picking players. And Shaq started going off about Steve Nash and a couple different. So Ernie Johnson sat him down on the couch like he was a psychiatrist or something. So Shaq lays down on the couch and he just starts going off. Yeah, I'm mad. Steve Nash is a little Canadian dude. He shouldn't have won. It's one of the funniest things. You could find it on YouTube. Hysterical.
I sadly do not get NBA TV, so I have not seen that. But I believe it because Shaq is hysterical. So
watch it on YouTube sometime. I'm telling you, it's great. Isaiah Thomas had a moment like that too, where he was going off about not being put on the dream team.
Oh, poor Isaiah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Steve Nash is just something special, man. He was a lot of fun to watch. My most vivid memories of Steve Nash are watching him play, not only with Dirk, because, you got to remember, those two started together.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people actually forget that, but they started together, and, man, if they stayed together, what might have been, to me, that always could have been the next Dr. Malone, but they didn't keep it together long enough, I guess. I don't know. But big fan of Steve Nash, man. I remember the playoff series he had against Kobe and the Lakers. They were, just entertaining. And not to mention, like I said, 6-foot guard from Canada. Not many people expect, some Canadian guy to come into the NBA and win 2 MVPs. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, from what I understood, he was a class act, too. He was a good guy.
Absolutely.
So, you got that, and then, Kid, right?
Mm-hmm.
Kid. How do I feel like I'm, right?
Yes, Kid.
Yeah, Kid. Jason Kidd, to me, if he had the athleticism and, physical attributes of LeBron James, would have been LeBron James before LeBron James. Mm. Ultimate all-around player, triple-double master. And even as a Bulls fan, you couldn't help but root for those New Jersey Net teams with him and Kerry Kittles and Kenyon Martin. They were a lot of fun to watch, and Jay Kidd was a large reason because of that. So, huge fan of him. But yeah, dude, like you said, it's one of those things where we're at the point now where we're literally watching guys that we grew up playing and go in, and it's just crazy to me. And it makes me feel old. But besides that, I gotta love those three guys specifically.
Yeah, I'm not really too much to add on those three, but I'll say this, Nash, yes, he started his career with Dirk and everything, and it's amazing how long both those guys have really been around. You think about Steve Nash, though, you think those incredible Phoenix teams that had Sean Marion and Amari Stoudemire and Nash leading the whole thing. Those were some great teams right there. I mean, you knew they weren't going to last in the playoffs, and of course they never were able to make it past the second round, I think. But those were some incredibly talented teams. And when you have Joe Johnson, who's basically an afterthought on that team, as your fourth or fifth guy, you're freaking stacked on that team. And we know Joe Johnson was able to turn the success that those teams had into $90 million for himself. But the fact is, Joe Johnson on those teams probably played some of the best basketball of his whole career. And we all know he was never really the same when he left those teams. So give Nash a lot of credit for what he was able to do there. I'm going to say this, though. The one guy you didn't talk about, Grant Hill. And I think the reason you didn't talk about him is because, listen, we know Grant Hill was a great player in college, and the first few years of his career, he looked like he was going to be an all-time great. In my opinion, he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, not just for what he did the first few seasons of his career, but the fact that he was able to play so long after all those major injuries he suffered that derailed what could have been an all-time great career. And he turned himself into a very solid role player for about 5 or 6 years there with Phoenix. I think he went to the Clippers at one point too. He had a very good, almost second career there. Never lived up to what the first few years of his career looked like. But I think one of the all-time great questions will always be, what if Grant Hill didn't suffer those major injuries when he signed that contract with Orlando, man? Because that Orlando team with him and Tracy McGrady really could have done some damage in the NBA around that time.
Yeah, no, those teams could have been something special. And look, I agree. I think why Grant Hill is the guy that came to me when I wanted to, kind of focus on those guys was, like you said, it's the injuries. It's the fact that when it's really all said and done, he never truly lived up to what his potential actually was. And, it wasn't his fault. There was nothing he could have done about it, but it still sucks.
Yeah.
And being a fan of, what he was, I don't know, man. That's just, I agree. He deserves it over not just what he managed to make his career, but also what he was as a college player, what he's done in broadcasting. I mean, he is a NBA guy. So I do think he deserves it either way. But, yeah, the kid Nash and, wow, I keep getting blanks, man. I'm getting tired. Sorry.
Kid Nash and, now you did it to me, Allen.
Allen, yeah. I mean, those are the guys, man. I got to watch them. I mean, Ray Allen, a lot of people forget what a freak of an athlete he was when he played in Milwaukee. So,
yeah.
But, hey, they usually get it right in the NBA. I never really have I can't get why you put them in their feeling when they do their Hall of Fame passes.
Yeah, it's not like it's the WWE or anything like that. So they got that going for them. Last guy I want to mention going into the Hall of Fame, you're going to appreciate this. Rob Thorne, longtime NBA executive and the general manager of the Chicago Bulls when they drafted Michael Jordan, gets into the Hall of Fame.
What took so damn long?
Well, it seems like every couple of years now you're getting someone associated with those Bulls teams getting in. I know Jerry Reinsdorf went in 2016, and last season was Jerry Krause. So now you basically got all the executives around Michael Jordan's long career with the Bulls now in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. Yeah, hey, think about what they did, man. That was a dynasty.
Yeah. It was a dynasty. Absolutely. All right, man. Well, I think that's going to do it here for us tonight. Do you have any final words, Dave?
Man, always a pleasure. Hope everybody enjoyed it, and until next time.
Yep. Thank you, Dave. I am Mike Aglialoro. This has been your SportsZone Short, and we will see you all next time. Have a good one.